The Will family lived in a beautiful house on a quiet street. From the outside, their life looked perfect. Michael Will was a successful businessman. He always wore a smart suit and drove a shiny car. His wife, Sarah, was a homemaker who kept the house spotless and the garden full of colorful flowers. They had a daughter, Emily, who was a bright and curious university student. Neighbors saw them as the ideal family. They smiled, they waved, and they hosted lovely summer parties in their big backyard. But behind the closed doors of their perfect home, secrets were hiding in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to come out into the light. One Tuesday evening, the sky turned dark and heavy. Rain began to fall hard against the windows, creating a sad, drumming sound that filled the house. Inside, the usual comfortable silence felt different. It felt heavy and tense. Michael sat in his armchair, not reading the newspaper but staring at the wall. Sarah moved around the kitchen, her hands busy but her mind far away. Emily was in her room upstairs, surrounded by books and papers. The storm outside seemed to match the storm that was slowly building within the walls of the Will family home, a quiet before a terrible and destructive tempest. Emily was not studying for her university classes. Instead, she was looking through old family photographs and forgotten letters she had found in a dusty box in the attic. Her parents had always avoided talking about the past. They would change the subject whenever she asked questions about their life before she was born. This only made Emily more curious. She felt a strong pull to understand the people her parents once were. She sensed there was a story they were not telling her, a piece of their history that was intentionally buried. The rain continued to beat against her window as she pieced together fragments of a life she never knew. That night, the feeling in the house was strange. Michael and Sarah exchanged worried looks when they thought Emily wasn't watching. They spoke in quiet whispers, their voices low and urgent. Emily could not hear their words, but she could feel their fear. It was a fear that had lived with them for a very long time, a ghost from their past that never truly left. The perfect family image was starting to crack, and the rain outside seemed to be washing away the carefully constructed lies. Something was terribly wrong, and Emily was getting closer to discovering a truth that was meant to stay hidden forever. Emily was a smart young woman. She noticed things that other people missed. Lately, she had noticed the sadness in her mother's eyes and the constant worry on her father's face. She knew it was more than just everyday stress. Her search in the attic was not just simple curiosity, it was a mission to find answers. She found an old newspaper clipping hidden inside a book. The article was about a car accident that happened many years ago. A young man had died. The story felt strangely familiar, and a cold feeling washed over her as she read the details. It was a mystery she felt compelled to solve. The more she looked, the more she found. There were letters between her parents, written in a time of panic and fear. They mentioned the accident from the newspaper. They wrote about a terrible mistake and the need to protect their future. Emily's hands trembled as she read their words. Her parents, the people she trusted most in the world, were connected to this dark event. They had a secret, a very big secret. The perfect family she knew was a lie, built on a foundation of secrets and fear. She felt a mix of anger and confusion, her world suddenly turning upside down. One afternoon, Emily confronted her parents. She held the old newspaper clipping in her hand. "What is this?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Why was this hidden?" Michael and Sarah's faces turned pale. The color drained from their cheeks, and the friendly smiles they usually wore disappeared completely. They looked at each other, their eyes filled with a shared terror. They denied everything at first. They told her she was imagining things, that it was just an old story with no connection to them. But their panicked reactions told Emily everything she needed to know. She had uncovered the truth. That was the last time anyone saw Emily Will. The next morning, her bed was empty. Her phone was on her nightstand, and her car was still in the driveway. She was gone. Her parents called the police, their voices filled with a frantic and desperate panic. They told the police their daughter was missing. They cried and pleaded for help. But was their panic for Emily's safety, or was it because their daughter knew too much? The secret they had guarded for so long was now threatening to destroy everything they had, and Emily was caught in the middle of it all. A few days after Emily's disappearance, a man named Detective Jackson knocked on the Will family's door. He was a tall man with tired eyes that had seen too many sad stories. He came to ask questions about the missing girl. Michael and Sarah tried to act like worried parents. They told him Emily was a good student, a happy girl with no problems. They painted a picture of a perfect life, the same picture they showed to their neighbors. They insisted she had no reason to run away. They were careful with their words, trying to control the story, but the detective was good at his job. Detective Jackson felt that something was not right. The house was too clean, too perfect. The parents' story was too simple. He sensed the fear beneath their calm words. He started his own investigation, looking into the family's history. He talked to old friends and distant relatives. He searched through old records, digging into the past that Michael and Sarah wanted to keep buried. The detective knew that to find Emily, he first had to find the secret she had discovered. The Will family puzzle was more complicated than it seemed, and he was determined to find all the pieces. His investigation led him to the same old newspaper clipping that Emily had found. It was about a hit-and-run accident from over 20 years ago. The case was never solved. The driver was never found. Detective Jackson felt a strong connection between this cold case and Emily's sudden disappearance. He had a feeling that Emily had learned something about that night. He believed her curiosity had put her in terrible danger. The past was no longer in the past. It was alive and affecting the present in a very dangerous way. He needed to work fast. The detective returned to the Will house. This time, his questions were more specific. He asked about the old accident. He watched Michael and Sarah's faces closely as he spoke. He saw the flicker of fear in their eyes, the slight tremble in their hands. They denied everything again, but their lies were becoming weaker. The detective knew they were hiding something terrible. He told them, "I think your daughter found out about the accident, and I think her disappearance is connected to it." The wall of secrets the Wills had built around themselves was beginning to crumble, brick by brick. Under the pressure of the investigation, the truth finally came out. Years ago, a young Michael and Sarah were driving home from a party. It was late, and the road was dark. They were arguing. Michael looked away from the road for just a moment, but a moment was all it took. They hit someone. Panicked and afraid of ruining their future, they made a terrible decision. They drove away, leaving a young man to die on the side of the road. They buried their secret deep and started a new life, pretending it never happened. They became the perfect family, living a perfect lie. Their confession shattered everything. The news spread through the town like a fire. The perfect Will family was now the center of a dark and chilling scandal. Their friends stopped calling. Their neighbors crossed the street to avoid them. The beautiful house that once seemed so warm and welcoming now felt like a cold and empty prison. Michael lost his job, and his business fell apart. Sarah stopped tending to her garden, and the flowers began to die. The life they had built on a foundation of lies was now in ruins, destroyed by the secret they tried so hard to protect. But the biggest question remained unanswered. Where was Emily? Detective Jackson believed she ran away after learning the horrible truth about her parents. Perhaps she was disgusted and couldn't bear to live with them, or maybe a more sinister possibility existed. Did her parents do something to her to keep their secret safe? Did they silence their own daughter to protect themselves? The police searched everywhere, but they found no sign of her. Emily Will had vanished completely, leaving behind only questions and a family destroyed by its own past. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. The Will family's house stood silent and dark on the quiet street. Michael and Sarah lived like ghosts inside, haunted by what they did and by the daughter they lost. The investigation grew cold, and Emily's case became another unsolved mystery. Her fate remains unknown, a final, chilling piece of the Will family enigma. The perfect life was gone forever, replaced by an endless night of guilt and sorrow. And somewhere out there, the secret of what truly happened to Emily Will is still waiting to be discovered.